I was just talking to somebody about like different stages that investors go through and different realizations they have along that journey and buying different properties in different stages. And I think that's hard for people who are just starting out to kind of conceptualize because, they don't have the perspective to look at the whole journey. So for you, what was that like? Like, what's the difference between the properties you were targeting then and now? What do you consider a property? Like, you obviously are expanding into some different types of properties. So how do you define like this is a deal?
I think that's a great question, because I think if you're getting into this journey of the real estate, along with it comes this, if you want to be successful, comes this personal growth that you have to go through. And there's a saying that I'll use a lot of the time where people will always judge others how they judge themselves. So if you don't have money, you typically have a scarcity mentality or a fear of not having that money. And that's how you approach your deals. So you're looking for the cheapest houses at the best price. You're putting the cheapest flooring in, because that's just, it's about the tightness of the numbers. And I think, and this is where some people who get coaching in it, and I've seen some people have real success with, coaching and stuff or mentorship. You don't necessarily have to pay for it, but where someone's helped them understand the game, even a step ahead, they'll bypass that first scarcity and you get it. And I remember my first house, and that was it. I'm like, great, I've got this first house. And then the second was a joint venture, and then the third joint venture. And I had, my goal was like 5. And then it was like, first it was 3, that was always my life goal for whatever reason. Then it was 5, then it was 10, and it grew. But then I didn't necessarily grow with it as a business. I found myself, suddenly I'm juggling everything, my life, kids, family, houses, tenants. And I was a pleaser, I guess. I wasn't as stern in my business, and I didn't understand how to operate it as a effective business. So then you start this development about getting your systems, your processes, and that's when you can start to grow. Whereas I think someone coming in on the journey now, if we were mentoring them or coaching them, it's like, well, let's just start with your systems. Figure out what you want to do with your life. Like, do you really want to manage tenants? Then don't do it. Get a property manager. I got into property management by default just because there was no one that would do it how I wanted to. And then that kind of grew into its own business on the side. And I'd say that became my income. Well, it did. That was my income. But it allowed me to have an income while doing houses on the side as a side hustle. And that's where we've created wealth. So I think if people are going on the journey, you've either got to come into it with money, and just manage the project and stay away from it, and understand that you might be willing to give, or you're going to be willing to give up a little bit, or you've got to find a way to actually generate some revenue within that business. Otherwise, you're going to run out of time and run out of money.
Yeah.
So, figure out what your skill sets are. Are you a handy person? And you don't have to bill out at $60, $70 an hour like a tradesperson does. I was billing myself at $20 an hour to my joint venture houses. But what it meant was I got a little bit extra money. So I was getting paid $20 an hour to be within the property. Then we were getting paid to manage it, and we were getting a share of the property on the outside. So we were getting like 3 cash now, cash while we're operating for time, plus some wealth at the back end. So that's what allowed it to grow. And then I just started going on courses, networking with people, communicating with people who were way ahead of where we were, and saying like, hey, how do you do this? How do you do it? I started paying for coaching from various people. And I'll put a caveat on coaching. I don't think people should go and pay a ton of money up front to learn basics. It's just, you don't need to. There's enough stuff in books, podcasts, YouTube, where you can figure out how to calculate ROI, what it means to do, a flip. There's enough free software available. I think if you're going to step into that realm of actually spending money, do some free stuff first so you can get more value out of the conversation what you pay for. Because we'll pay $10,000 and have paid $10,000 to go on programs. We did the Tony Robbins Business Mastery, and you fly to another country, your hotels, the cost of doing it. Yeah. But I got value out of that because it doesn't take much of a change for me to have a hugely different output in my business where it's at. If I was starting out and I'd paid that money, I'd have just been hyped, come back and made all the same mistakes I did anyway.